it looks good.
I know, right?
Well, hi, welcome back to Hometime. Well, not only have we done new building on this new house, but also our share of remodeling. But I have to say, either way, it's a lot of fun when it all starts coming together.
Yep, and today we're going to be in the master bath of the Creekside home. And now is actually a great time to be tuning in.
That's because we've got a few things queued up for you, which include vanity cabinets in the master bath.
Once those are in, we'll see where the quartz surfacing comes from that we'll be using to cover the cabinets, and we'll see those go in as well.
And that should take us a long way to wrapping up that master bath area.
Sounds like something you might want to stick around and see. We're going to spend some time here in the master bath with our friend Steve Sabiniak. We thought it'd be a good idea to show you a few of the things that we've done to get to this point. We talked about the vintage style soaking tub. That's kind of the focal point on one side of the room, being located in the center of the wall. It's a freestanding style, so the filler and the drain are both exposed to complement the look of a very traditional bathtub. The commode, on the other hand, features a very modern one-piece design with hands-free, motion-activated open and close, a heated seat, ambient lighting, and Bluetooth speakers for streaming music. Now, the faucets that we're using over the two vanity sinks have a very modern appearance. All you see are the filler and the handles. The valves are actually in the wall. It gives them a nice, sleek appearance, and it also frees up space on the countertop. The sinks that we're pairing those up with will be a little more traditional in design. They're actually coming from the same style family as the tub. Well, they're vitreous china, and they get mounted under the countertop. But that comes later. First, we need to do some cabinets. Steve Sabiniak is helping us with those as we speak. It's a set of face frame cabinets that we had custom finished in the same frosty white paint color that you've seen in some of the other trim and fixtures throughout the home. Well, we've been working with Nadine and Olivia at a kitchen and bath design company. We sent them a sketch and they gave us this layout. And in the end, I think it's going to be a very elegant and efficient use of the space. We have two sink bases for the undermount sinks under the faucets, two cabinets with drawers in between, which gives each user some personal storage space. There's also a tower unit on the end designed to look like an armoire with drawers and shelves for storing shared items like linens and towels. Now the doors, drawers, and face frames are all solid maple beneath our white finish. So the style is transitional with a one-panel design, and that should go well with a lot of the different elements that we have going on in the house, like our kitchen cabinets. Now, as we said before, these are face frame cabinets, which basically means that all of our doors and drawers are laying over the front of our frame, as opposed to, say, an inlay, which would be flush with the front of the frame, and that would give it a little bit more of a classic look. Now, typically, you're not working with a floor that's perfectly level. The best way to handle that is to find the high point on your floor and mark your level line there. Then you shim everything up to that line. You want to make sure everything is perfectly level, very important when you're working with cabinets. Well, Steve, it's looking really good so far.
Yeah, it's going real good.
Yeah? Now, when you're installing cabinets, you need to think a little bit about layout, make sure everything works out, right?
Yes, on this one, we had to make sure that the sink base was centered on the faucets that are coming out of the walls.
Okay.
So then the sink would be centered, everything would be centered, which is also centered with these mirrors. Then we also had to make sure that everything fit in the space wall to wall, because we are going wall to wall.
And everything worked out okay?
Everything's just fine.
And as you're installing, it's also important to make sure you have everything plumb level and square.
Yes, that's always important. So the finished product comes out with all the doors reveal nicely to each other and to the cabinets and the countertops, and everything works right.
Now, I know these are face frame cabinets. Now, if you had an inset type of situation with that, would it be different?
Yeah, that's all the reveals need to be perfect for that. There's usually an 1/8 inch all the way around the openings or less. These are a little bit more forgiving when you have the doors coming over the face frame like this.
Now, you said you're going wall to wall. You do want to make sure you're careful of things like right here, like trim, make sure everything opens and closes right.
Yes, we're putting a filler on the end there to make sure to leave room for the drawers to open past the door casing.
Well, this is looking really, really good. It's going to be nice to finally have cabinets in here.
It is. Thank you.
Yeah, nice work. Now, dirty clothes may not be something that you would think about when you're designing a master bath, but our designers incorporated a couple of base cabinets for just that, one for each person. Now, this is an aluminum frame that incorporates soft close glides, so there won't be any banging around in the bathroom, and it gets attached to the bottom of each cabinet. On the front of the frame, we have a couple of heavy-duty brackets, and that's what our door attaches to. Now, it also comes with this cloth bag, which is washable, and it just hangs right here in the frame, and then it makes it really easy to pull it right out and bring it to the laundry. Now, these laundry hampers go in fairly simply. Steve's already got the first one installed, and now we're getting ready to start the second one. It comes with a template that's used to mark where the glides should go on the bottom of the cabinet. That makes it pretty easy to position those properly and then just secure them with some screws. There's a couple of front mounting brackets for each hamper, and those are to attach the cabinet door. The brackets can be positioned two ways, depending on if you have an overlay or an inset door. Once you have the door in position, you secure it to the brackets. There are adjustments that you can make on the brackets to help fine-tune the door's position. We're fast-tracking things here in the master bath, and now that the cabinets are done, we're ready for countertops. What we're going with is a quartz solid surface, and this is the sample of the color that we've chosen. The color is named after a seaside village in Wales called Fairborn. Number one, because the family that owns the company traces their lineage back to Wales, and also because the color of the stone is a lot like the sandy beaches in that village. There is some fabrication involved, and to get that process started, Corey Bass has come out to get some very precise information on how the materials should be cut and finished to fit the space that we have here. It's a digital templating system using dots, panels, and a camera to gather up all the data they need to put together a template for fabrication. So Corey, getting a really accurate template is the best way to make sure these Cambria countertops fit, right?
That's right, it is important. We used to use plywood templates and Luan strips. However, going digital is going to get us a lot more accurate, and it's going to save us time on installation as well.
So your first step is laying out these dots. So I'm watching you, and how do you know where to put them?
Our dots act as measure points.
Okay.
So we're going to set them on the cabinetry, and we're going to string them along the walls. And the system is going to recognize each one of the large dots.
Okay.
And that is going to give us an accurate scribe for any inconsistencies in the walls.
Okay.
We're also going to put them on the front of our cabinets. If cabinets aren't set exactly in plane, the system is going to recognize that, and we're going to be able to adjust the stone for an accurate fit.
So, and then what about corners and curves?
We'll string them along curves for an accurate measure there, but there is no such thing as a 90-degree angle in construction. So we want to grab the corners as well, so the countertops are going to match that turn.
So next thing you have are these plates. What are you doing with these?
We've got a series of metal plates that we use, and we'll take a picture of these metal plates along with all the dots on the cabinetry and on the walls. The system that analyzes all these photos knows the grouping of the black dots on these metal plates.
Okay.
It uses this known information to triangulate the position of the dots we have on the walls and on the cabinets.
Okay.
That gives us a plan view in AutoCAD that's accurate within a 1/16 of an inch.
Whoa, 16th, that's pretty good.
It is.
Okay, now it looks like you have all your dots ready to go and you're ready for pictures. So tell us about what you're using for that.
We've got a digital camera that there's really nothing special about the digital camera other than the templating manufacturer has taken and calibrated the camera for the correct aperture, focus settings, flash settings. I'm going to start with 3 pictures of our first plate, and then I'm going to work my way down to the end and 3 pictures of the last. Then I'll come back, I'll take a bunch of overalls as well. In all, it'll be a total of about 30 to 40 pictures.
So taking all these pictures, what does that do?
So we'll take pictures of the pairs of plates,
Okay.
and then we'll take overall pictures linking 3 and 4 plates together. And that gives the system an overall view of how all the plates relate to all the dots on the cabinet.
So now once you have all your pictures taken, how exactly does that become a template?
We load all those pictures into the Phototop system. That will then analyze those photos, and that will give us a dot view, a plan view of this bathroom. We'll connect the dots, do our production drawings, and send those down to the fabrication facility. They'll use those drawings to fabricate the countertops.
So we're going to actually get to see them make our countertop from your work today. So thanks so much for coming out.
Thank you.
So do you think that we'll actually get to see it come off the line, all polished and done? There. Now as things come together, we're starting to rehang the doors that Dale and Steve took out during construction. And we needed the jambs in at the time in order to do the trim, but we did take the doors off to protect them. Now this one is for the closet. If you remember, we actually have 3 closets stacked one on top of the other with the idea that someday you could put in an elevator. It's all a part of the aging in place idea. Now we're putting in the hardware, and what we're going with are these levers instead of knobs, which are a little bit easier to operate. We had the doors pre-bored for the hardware at the same time that we had them pre-hung. But the equipment that they have at the facility, it goes very fast. It's tubular, which means there's a tubular shaft that goes through the door, and then the handles go through that to operate it. Now this is a satin nickel finish, which is in keeping with the rest of the house. A lot of the other hardware is the same. This narrow side plate gives it kind of a contemporary look, which of course fits in well with the transitional feeling we have throughout the house. Now with a lot of door hardware, you have right hand and left hand swing hardware. Oftentimes they're not interchangeable. So it's important to make sure that you get the right kind. The best way to figure out which way your door swings, and therefore what kind of hardware to get, is to stand in the doorway with your back to the hinge side. And if your door swings with your right hand or your left hand, that's the kind of swing you have. So we have a right hand swing door here. And it's important because when you're ordering your hardware, especially if you're doing a lot, you want to make sure you get the correct kind. We're still following the master bath story, and the next step actually takes us off-site, where we get to see where the countertops are created. This gives us a chance to talk about what we're using and how it's fabricated.
Yeah, boy, I can't believe how many colors and patterns out here.
Exactly.
Well, I have Joel Johns with me. We're down the area where the slabs are located. So what exactly is a quartz surface?
Dean, quartz is a man-made product comprised of 93% quartz and 7% binders. It's mixed in big hoppers and then extruded into large pans, which is the result is the product that we see right here.
And the beauty of this product is it's very non-porous.
With 93% quartz, it's the hardest product for countertops beyond granite and marble.
And because it is non-porous, it doesn't have like some antimicrobial properties?
Exactly, Dean. And moisture and bacteria is not going to get into the product. And an added bonus is that you don't have to seal the product every 6 months like other competitive products.
Now, I think another advantage too is because it is man-made, you can dial in some colors that you can't get in regular natural stone.
Exactly. In our design labs, we're constantly working on new formulas that we control the ingredients.
So as people want to go to, let's say, very specific trendy type colors, you guys can cook one up and offer it up to the marketplace.
Yeah, we have 122 designs right now, and we're constantly introducing new designs to the marketplace as well.
And even though you do dial in those colors pretty tight, when it comes time to actually use a slab on a project, there's a little bit of a selection process.
We're able to pull slabs from our warehouse like you see here today, but we have a group of quality inspectors that are constantly looking at key quality indicators such as tone and movement to make sure the end product is up to our quality standards.
And doing it under a light that is just dialed into right where you want it.
Takes a little bit of time, huh?
Yes, it does.
Yeah. So now Corey took all the pictures in the master bath, and this is where they end up, is in the programming office. I'm here with Keith Bulkey, and he's going to walk us through the process, right?
Yes. Once we receive the drawings from our certified installer, our programmers will review their drawings and make sure that all critical information is accurate. At that point, when it's deemed accurate, they will create a file that's kicked out to the manufacturing area where the job would be rough cut and the profile is put on the pieces. And that's the file they would create.
Now we do have a couple of sinks going into our piece, so how do you handle that?
Each sink is different. Each is a different size and dimension. We have a template that we drop in from the manufacturer that we would use to program, and then from there we run the tooling on the inside of the sink.
Now our countertop is a little bit longer than the full slab, so we do need to have a seam.
Seams are very common. It happens every single day. That would not take place in the programming office. What will happen is once the folder is created, it'll go out to our pre-inspection area, and the pre-inspectors will determine where the seam will fall for the two pieces.
So when everything comes out of that programming office, what happens out here on the factory floor?
The actual CAD drawing will be transferred out to the nesting station, and they'll mirror that up, match it up with the actual picture of the slab, and they'll put the pieces on that material to make sure we get the best match of the seam, color, tone, and movement of that slab.
Because obviously you want to try to maximize as much of that slab use as you can get.
Yep, we're trying to drive the highest yield as possible on that slab in terms of material usage, as well as getting that high quality look for the top.
Then in terms of that slab, the computer's able to move those around to kind of like come up with a sweet spot in the match.
They'll move those pieces exactly on that slab to find that perfect spot in terms of the highest quality top that we can produce in the plant.
Okay, so once they have everything nested and they know what they're going to do with the slab, talk to us about this cutting process.
The nesting layout you saw back at the nesting station will actually be transferred to the rough cut area, where the combi cut will cut the straight lines with a saw and the curved lines with a water jet, water, and garnet.
Yeah, and I suppose you use a saw for the straight cuts just because it's a lot more efficient than the water jet.
The saw is a much more proficient piece to cut the stone that we're cutting in these shops.
And describe to us how that water jet actually cuts through 3 millimeters of a strong material like this.
The water jet is a combination of high pressure water and a fine silica that allows us to cut the slabs, which is a very hard surface, as we talked about earlier.
So that silica is part of the abrasive process that basically like the edges of a saw.
Yep, a fine silica, which combined with that speed in that water allows that material to be cut in a very proficient manner.
So once you have all your pieces under your countertop rough cut, where does it go from there?
Well, Dean, there's one of three options. We can go to the miter area where they build up a 45-degree angle, the lam area where they'll double the thickness in some cases of the edge profile, or right to the CNC area where the profile we put on to the CNC machines.
Which is where ours will end up going.
Exactly.
So how is that edge applied?
The CNC machines will run a series of tools. There's a series of metal tools and also polishers, which will remove product, create the profile, and then polish that profile as well.
All in one station.
All at one station.
And the CNC really does a great job of that.
It does. It does a great job putting the edge profile on, but the work's not done right there.
So once that edge is all finished, then where do you go?
It comes into our hand polishing area. That's where the last of the detail work is done on the edge profile.
What sort of things does hand polishing involve?
When the pieces come over to be hand polished, what our polishers will do is we'll take the pieces and put them on a sawhorse and level them all off, as they would be in your kitchen. From there, they blend the seams together so you can't tell if it's of any transition. And on some of the profiles, what they do at the very top of it might have a sharp edge to it, so they'll take that and they'll just ease the edge so it's nice and smooth.
So these are going to be ready pretty quickly to come out to the house, right?
And we'll be ready tonight. Shipment tonight and installation tomorrow.
Excellent.
Well, as we're moving through the construction here, we're finally getting to the point where we're starting to put up some of our shades. Now, in selecting a shade, it's always a bit of a balancing act. You want enough light coming in a house, but at the same time, you want a certain level of privacy. Now, in the past, you've seen us install a silhouette style shade before. This is an enhanced version of that called Illustra. Now, this has shears on the front and the back side, and then this veining that runs in between and supports those shears. Now, I'm sure you've operated shades before that have the cords on the side or they have strings running through them. This has none of that. This is what they call their lift and rise. You just click it like so and just slide it up. Bring it back down again, click it, and it opens it up to the exterior. Very easy to operate. For installation, you have to decide which way you're going to go, from inside to inside of jamb here, or you can go from outside of wall to wall or outside of casing to casing. And to begin the installation, we take our brackets like this. For our interior mount, we first begin by snapping off this little clip here. You just kind of bend it like so, and breaks right off. Then we take the bracket, hold about 3 inches in from either side of the jamb, do a little pre-drilling, put our screws in, that holds it nice and secure. Then with everything secured, we can take the shade. You want to make sure you get it nice and centered in the opening here. Here we go, and then just slide it in. Very easy. Now one thing I should point out, they have something called the classic S-vane. It's that veining that goes in between. When I open it up, you can see what I'm talking about. It has kind of the shape of an S. It has a way of diffusing the light and bounces it in the room in a way that is just really very different. You'll notice too, as I mentioned before, no cords, so it's very safe for kids. And when this shade is closed, it's blocking 88% of the UV that comes into the house that, you know, fades your furniture and stuff like that. And one thing I should mention, whenever we do a segment like this, people are always emailing us saying, what's the color of that or whatever. I'll tell you right now, it's called French linen is the material, and the color is tranquil. Looks pretty good in here.
Well, we've seen the first couple steps in covering the cabinets in the master bath, the templating and the fabrication. Now we're ready for the last step. That's putting them in place. We have Phil, Chad, and Barry handling that part of the project, and they're doing a little bit of prep work before they bring the pieces into the master bath. Well, Phil, thanks for coming out.
Thanks for having us.
So we've seen a lot of precision with getting these countertops ready to go. That's got to carry through to today, right?
Correct. It's important that the measure follows through and makes our job a lot quicker.
So the process today will be fairly simple. Do you want to walk us through that? What's the first thing you do?
We're going to flip our countertops over on the sawhorses and trace out our sinks.
Okay.
And then once we do that, we'll drill for our nut certs and we'll carry them in.
So what's a nut zert?
A nut cert is a pop rivet, threaded pop rivet that goes in to the hole that we drill on the outside of the sink so we can put a threaded bolt in to hold the sink on.
So once you get all your preps done outside, then what?
Then we'll carry the countertops in and place them.
Okay, kind of a dry fit.
Correct.
And if everything's fitting well, then what?
We go ahead and start leveling it up, prepping for our seam.
And you want to make sure those are perfectly level, make sure all the overhangs are the right margin, right?
Correct. Then we can proceed to seaming.
And seaming, you're using a 2-part epoxy, perfectly color matched, right?
We have a 2-part epoxy that we use that's colored for every design that we have. So then the next step is putting our gorillas on and getting ready to set the seam.
And the gorillas, that's a vacuum clamp that you use to set the seam and pushes it together, right?
Yes, that it vacuums down to the countertop, and then the cams adjust the heights of the 2 counters.
And as the seam sets, then you move on to sinks.
Then we silicone the tops of the sinks, insert our threaded bolts and our clamps, and screw it tight to the bottom of the sink or counter.
You're underneath pushing up.
Yep.
Lots of fun. So once the sinks are in place, any final touches with the sinks?
We just adjust the reveals, and then we silicone down the countertops.
Okay. And you have one last thing you do to finish off that seam, right?
Yes, we do a skim coat afterwards. We apply a thin coat over the seam to ensure that we don't miss any voids.
Well, it's been really great. Thanks for all your help.
Thank you.
So you definitely make it look easy. You've been doing this for a while, huh?
Yep, years.
Well, we got a lot done today, especially in the master bath. Things are really starting to come together here at the Creekside home. We have a lot more to do next time, so hopefully you can join us for that. For Dean and the guys, I'm Miriam Johnson. Thanks for watching.
Visit Hometime at pbs.org. We got more details about our projects, tips on owning and maintaining a home, and a great glossary of building and remodeling terms. Stop by and see us at pbs.org.
Be more PBS.
If you have an existing drip irrigation system, you can extend it into a flower box once you've located a nearby feeder line.
This drip line right now, it's in this mulch bed. We're going to punch 5 connectors into this existing drip zone, and we're going to put these little regulator ball valves right next to this second post. So here's our 5 distribution tubings, come down through the channel, and then connect it to the ball valves down below. Okay, next we're going to come to each planter. To keep everything as concealed as possible, we're going to put a T down here behind this box and T a small piece of tubing to about 1/3 and 1/3, and elbow over the top of the box, stake, emitter, everything will be real concealed.
Great, and easy to access too.
Easy to access, we can pull them out, replant, they'll be real movable.
But here's a good option for covering a workshop floor, like we have down here in the lower level. This is called VCT, which stands for Vinyl Composition Tile, and it's mostly used in commercial applications where you need a really durable floor. First, we found the center of the room. We snapped our grid lines. With this glue, you have about 6 hours working time, with about an hour to let it set up.
The first tile counts the most. That has to be right on because everything keys off of that.
These tiles are 12 inches square, and they come in lots of different colors, so it's really easy to do some really fun patterns. We are using 3 different colors, and we're laying them in kind of a checkerboard pattern.
It's very important to roll this stuff to make sure that everything sets up real well.
These tiles come with a factory coat of polish on there to make sure that they're protected during transport and installation. They do recommend taking that off and putting a couple coats of your own polish to finish it up.